Hello guys, I'm Tom, and today we'll dive into who Mr. Chuckle Teeth is. Mr. Chuckle Teeth is the central antagonist in the episode titled Familiar from the X-Files series, specifically from the new season that aired in 2018. He is one of the main characters in a children's TV show, and despite his terrifying appearance, he is well known and beloved by young children. The story of this episode is quite interesting and takes place in the small town of Eastwood, Connecticut. One morning, a young boy named Andrew is playing in the park with his Mr. Chuckle Teeth doll, and as he sings the show's theme song, his mother receives a phone call that briefly distracts her, causing her to look away for a few moments. Curiously, the boy notices that a life-sized version of Mr. Chuckle Teeth appears in the woods near the park. He tells his mother he sees the creature hiding behind the trees, but she is too focused on her phone conversation and doesn't pay attention to him. She even tells the person on the other end to leave her alone. When she hangs up, Andrew is no longer in the park. Desperately, she shouts his name and begins searching for him. However, there seems to be no trace of the boy anywhere. Meanwhile, deep in the woods, we see Andrew following Mr. Chuckle Teeth, calling out to him because he wants to see him up close. However, the entity seems to be luring him into a denser area. Shortly after, the malevolent presence quickly approaches the boy, who now appears very frightened. This is how the scene ends. Hours later, numerous police officers are searching for Andrew in the forest. One of the officers, Rikers, who is also the boy's father, is part of the search team. Eventually, Officer Wentworth discovers something on the forest floor: Andrew's mutilated remains, as the boy had been torn apart by some unknown predator. This incident prompts Agents Mulder and Scully to investigate what really happened to the boy, as they suspect some sinister forces may be responsible for Andrew's brutal death. The townsfolk conclude that Andrew was killed by a hybrid animal that inhabits the area, a mix between a wolf and a coyote. It's explained that this type of natural hybrid lives in the region, which is why the Eastwood police arrive at this conclusion. However, Scully notices, upon examining Andrew's body, a strange mark on the boy's ankle. Agent Mulder visits Andrew's mother's friend Anna and her young daughter Emily, as they are witnesses to Andrew's disappearance. There, Mulder realizes Anna has some unusual books about witchcraft and the occult. Meanwhile, Emily is watching television, and Mr. Chuckle Teeth's show appears on the screen, prompting the little girl to tell Mulder and her mother that Mr. Chuckle Teeth was in the woods when Andrew was killed. Later in the episode, it's revealed that Mr. Chuckle Teeth has a demonic identity that takes different forms to lure his victims to a violent and brutal death. This creature initially takes the form of the popular and beloved Mr. Chuckle Teeth mascot, resembling a large ventriloquist doll, dressed in a black suit with dress shoes and having a disproportionately large head compared to the rest of his body. The most terrifying feature of this creature is his face, with large crazed eyes and a huge smile with big visible teeth, giving him an overall evil appearance. In this form, the demon is mostly black and white, with only his red bow tie providing a splash of color. Mr. Chuckle Teeth's look seems to reference early cartoons and old television shows. Interestingly, the demon, in all its forms, is incapable of speaking, or perhaps simply chooses not to. Most fans of the series theorize that he takes on this form to attract more children and kill them in a brutal manner. Mr. Chuckle Teeth moves in a disturbing and unnatural way, as if he's constantly dancing, mimicking his movements from the children's show. Although this mascot is loved by the young audience, many adults find it disturbing and sinister. This demonic entity also takes the form of a large wolf-like creature, described as a hellhound. In this form, it can quickly pursue its victims. Additionally, it adopts the appearance of certain townspeople to deceive potential victims. Another form it takes in the episode is that of another mascot from the children's show named Mr. Wiggly, who also appears as a malevolent and demonic entity. As Mulder and Scully's investigation continues, Emily is also killed by the demonic entity, who lures her in its Mr. Wiggly form and leads her out of her house, where it later kills her in its wolf form. Mulder and Scully find Emily's body, surrounded by a salt circle, leading Mulder to conclude that someone in the town practiced witchcraft and brought a demon into the physical world, responsible for the strange events in the town. Eventually, it's revealed that Sheriff Strong, Emily's father and Anna's husband, is having an affair with a woman named Diane, who is Officer Riker's wife and Andrew's mother. It's also revealed that the sheriff tampered with the crime scene by adding salt to divert the investigation. As he believes the demon was drawn to the town due to his sins and infidelity, and thus punished both Emily and Andrew. However, Mulder discovers that it wasn't the sheriff's sin that brought the demon to the town, but rather that Anna summoned it as part of a curse, wanting the demonic entity to seek revenge on her husband for his infidelity. Unfortunately for the witch named Anna, the curse she cast on her husband failed. Instead of the demon she summoned attacking the sheriff and Diane, it targeted their children, as the demonic entity began killing those whom Sheriff Brian loved. That's why his young children became the primary targets of the demon. Realizing the grave mistake she made, Anna tries to end the demon by undoing the curse, which causes her to suffer spontaneous combustion, putting an end to Mr. Chuckle Teeth's killing spree as the demonic entity and the dark magic appear to have been returned to hell. A few hours later, the police are surveying the area and Scully hands one of the officers Anna's black magic book, which, incredibly, didn't burn when she died in flames. FBI agents Scully and Mulder consider the case closed, and Scully asks Mulder to leave because she fears something else might happen. Mulder agrees, and they both depart quickly. As they drive out of town, we get one last look at the park. Here we see the small carousel where Andrew last played, which starts spinning on its own, suggesting that Mr. Chuckle Teeth, or the demonic entity, hasn't fully left and is still active in Eastwood, Connecticut. Now that we've covered the physical appearance and story of the demonic entity that takes the form of Mr. Chuckle Teeth, I want to discuss his various abilities and powers, as well as the inspiration the episode's writers used to create this dark and memorable character. Being essentially a demon, Mr. Chuckle Teeth is immortal and cannot die in any way. We're told he can only be sent back to hell. It's also believed that this being is far more powerful than any ordinary human and can do anything he chooses, defying some scientific laws along the way as he possesses many supernatural abilities, not just shape-shifting. Despite being a very powerful entity, Mr. Chuckle Teeth is not truly omnipotent or omniscient. To start, he cannot act independently at will. He must first be summoned by someone using dark magic, which indicates that he cannot appear anywhere on his own. Interestingly, once he is summoned and given a specific target, he seems to fulfill it in twisted, violent ways that may go against the summoner's original intentions. The episode's writer, Benjamin Van Allen, discussed his inspiration for creating this character. He commented that some children's shows sometimes feature characters that are very strange and somewhat disturbing, and he wanted to take this concept and apply it to a classic X-Files episode that needed an iconic monster. His intention was for the episode to feel very similar to classic episodes, where everything happens in a small town, involving only agents Mulder and Scully. He mentioned that he didn't want to show the X-Files office or Skinner. He just wanted a monster and a more classic storyline. The writer also mentioned that the direct inspiration for Mr. Chuckle Teeth was a BBC children's show called The Big Show, which featured a character named Mr. Nosybonk, who, despite being a children's show mascot, has a very disturbing and somewhat sinister appearance. Well, that's everything we know about the demonic entity known as Mr. Chuckle Teeth. Honestly, I think this creature is the best one featured in the new X-Files seasons. In my opinion, it's not only extremely disturbing and powerful, but also very memorable for its role in the episode. One important point to note is that Mr. Chuckle Teeth is not actually the main antagonist or villain of the episode. The true villains are the parents of the murdered children, as it was their wrongdoings that brought this demon into the world. Moreover, they were the ones who ultimately destroyed their own families. The chaos and death Mr. Chuckle Teeth brings to the town contrasts with the actions of some people, as a large part of the town accuses an innocent man with a dark past of the murders, and they lynch him to seek justice on their own terms. Tragically, the man they allowed to be killed had nothing to do with the children's deaths. This, in my opinion, contrasts brilliantly with Mr. Chuckle Teeth, as it shows who the real monsters in the story are. I really enjoyed this episode. Although I'm not currently watching the new seasons of the series, I did watch this episode in full because I found it disturbing how unnaturally Mr. Chuckle Teeth moves. I also love the mysterious way this episode starts. Overall, I really liked the darker tone it had. Mr. Chuckle Teeth's design is simple, and I liked it a lot for how unsettling it is. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Did you already know Mr. Chuckle Teeth? Were you familiar with his story and origins? What did you think of his design? Did you find him disturbing or not? Would you like to see this entity return to the series? Comment right after these questions and share your general opinion about Mr. Chuckle Teeth in the X-Files. Then, as always, thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up and share it to support the channel. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of my new videos.